Hello, this is going to be a quick video going over a new series I'm going to do on TikTok, and I'm calling it End Times, because I'm going to be talking about climate change and global warming. It's going to be interesting to do it on this, short style TikToks, where I only have like a minute to do, so expect a lot of like graphs that you need to pause on and stuff like that. And the subject material, because it's existential, it's going to be sad at a lot of times, and not possibly as hopeful as some other people are when they talk about this topic. So if you ever need a palate cleanser, I'll still do my, fun weather forecast videos and all that jazz. But I think it's, time that we finally sit down, you and the guy in the skirt, talk about, the end of the world. So look forward to that. Hello, this is going to be episode 1 of End Times, where I go over climate change. So there's going to be a lot of graphs. Feel free to pause. I'm also going to have citations down in the comments. So, climate change is defined as a long-term change in the global temperature. In this case, an increase in temperature. And this is caused by greenhouse gases. These gases trap heat and radiation radiated from the sun and act much like a blanket. And the more blankets you have, the more heat is trapped. And we know this because we've observed an increase in greenhouse gases. For instance, this is a graph on the increase in carbon dioxide. This, in turn, has caused an increase in global temperatures. And this has caused a myriad and a large amount of changes in our Earth, which I'll be going over in this series. So that's pretty much the basics. Feel free to do your own research. Hello, this is going to be episode 2 of End Times, and we're going to be looking at the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC. This is the big thing Greta Thunberg looks at whenever she's talking to people about stuff. So, the IPCC specifically looks at what the world is going to look like at 1.5 degrees Celsius warming and 2 degrees Celsius warming, and how these things differ and when they'll be reached. Expecting us to reach 1.5 degrees Celsius warming between 230 and 252. So definitely in our lifetime, and then 2 degrees after that. And these changes are going to impact our lifetime, which is very important to keep in consideration. So, these 1.5 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius markers don't seem like they're a lot, but we're talking about the global temperature increase. For instance, this is what an extreme hot day in the mid-latitudes would look like, and how much it would increase, and a cold night in the high latitudes. It's a lot more than the 2 degrees and the 1.5 degrees. So with that out of the way, let's look at how the world's going to change with these temperature increases. So for instance, this is a graphic I'm just going to have on the screen and I'll be talking over it. Please pause, it's a lot of information. So as you can see, these is their projections of how certain things are going to change. The purple means a high extreme chance and irreversible change, and the red and yellow mean high changes with extreme change, and the white means no change. And you can see as we go from 1.5 to 2 degrees, almost everything gets worse. And this is in so many areas. We're going to be having extinction events, a whole bunch of things. And the IPCC goes into that. For example, the impact of humans is expected to be felt in the most disenfranchised communities, including indigenous peoples and local communities without a lot of infrastructure and stuff like this. So while not everyone is going to be affected, those who are already doing the worst are going to be the worst off and the most affected. And this is important when reading about climate change. So I hope that was an interesting look into the IPCC. I strongly recommend reading it. I personally looked at the policymakers, which seems to be the most basic. And yeah, if you have any questions in the comments, leave them there, and I'll answer. Hello, this is episode 3 of End Times, and we're going to be talking about ocean acidification. As the name might suggest, this is when the ocean lowers in pH level, which you might have heard about in school. And this is caused by carbon dioxide we pump into the atmosphere also going into the ocean, which leads to a lot of bad things. For instance, you might think that carbonated soda, like carbonated water, probably has like a pH of like 5 or 4, has a pH of 3.5, which is equivalent to wine. So very acidic. So as this carbon dioxide enters the atmosphere, I'm going to have a lot of chemistry above me. Feel free to pause if you're a chemist. And as this carbon dioxide enters, it lowers the pH of the water. And this has a lot of negative effects, especially in the fish that live there. It can lower their metabolism and make them susceptible to diseases. It also affects the production of coral in the coral reef. And this is coupled with the bleaching caused by the temperature influx due to global warming. So you have the bleaching killing the coral, and then the acidification making it so it can't produce any more coral, which is a big problem. And this is, an interesting combination of where oceanography, chemistry, and meteorology all meet to talk about, the dying of oceans, so to speak. To just bring that point home, this is what a mollusk looks like in different levels of pH. And the fourth picture is predicted to be the pH level of 2,100. So, down the line, and it honestly, to me, looks like a lung that's done like tobacco products, like this incredibly unsustainable life. So, it's another thing. The good news about ocean acidification, if you can call it that, is it's all connected to the same thing. It's carbon dioxide being pumped into the air. And it has all these negative effects that are so far-reaching that it's wild to think about how much we're hurting the planet. So, yeah. Feel free to check out my second episode and my other episodes. They're all as depressing and as informative.